So, attachment theory. What is it? Why do you even need it? Well, you might need this theory because it is a critical knowledge to have for building high quality relationships with your partner in order to become more intimate, to create strong bonds with him or her, and generally speaking, be satisfied and happy with your relationships. Waking up in the morning and just being jubilant that you have this person as a partner and that your relationships are truly the best you could have imagined. So, what is this theory about? It's about 3 types of personality that we develop early on in our childhood, and these personalities become determinants to what kind of a partner we shall be in the future. Responsive, loving, caring, or critical, perhaps, fuzzy, whining. So in order to identify what kind of a attachment style do you have, you first of all have to know what are those personality types. And those are anxious, avoidant, and secure attachment styles. Basically, if you had a family that was responsive, who were appreciating you as their child, were loving, caring, and overall the atmosphere in your family was cozy and loving. If this is true about you and your childhood, then chances are that now you have a secure attachment style. If the relationships with your parents were somewhat inconsistent, like there was some level of coziness and love, however, it was erratic. Sometimes your parents might have responded to your needs, and other times they didn't. And at those other times, you might have developed a notion in your head that they will abandon you, that you will be left alone, and eventually you will die alone. And there is a unique somewhat aspect of anxious person, the protest behavior. At the times when you were left dissatisfied, your needs were not fulfilled, the protest behavior is activated. So every time your parents try to come closer to you, you start to show off your grudge. You are not talking to them. You are acting in a way that any of us would if we were left unsatisfied. We would develop some sort of a short-term negative attitude about our parents. But eventually that grudge veins off and again we become normal. Our protest behavior as anxious people shuts down. An example of adult, so to say, scenario. When our protest behavior is activated, we might do the same, basically. Show off our grudge, become less responsive to our partner, or, try to make them jealous, for instance. Try to make them feel bad for what they did, all right? Try to impose the idea that they are the problem onto them, just in order to, satisfy our ego. And this is one of the unique characteristics of anxious person. Also, another aspect of anxious person is the activated attachment system. It's not only pertinent to anxious people, but in general to all people. When their attachment system is activated, in case of anxious person, he or she becomes anxious that he or she might be abandoned, left alone, and will never find another partner like the one who is currently with you, and so on and so forth. They go deeper into this rabbit hole of negative thinking, imagining scenarios where they are splitting, breaking up, that they get into argument. This is the activation in anxious people. And this activation leads to the need to become closer to people, to our partner. We might become too needy, but later on you will understand that this neediness is not a bad thing. It's our nature. And in order to calm yourself down, you need, as an anxious person, to see that your partner actually cares about you. Your partner is not about abandoning you, breaking up with you, or your partner is not with someone else cheating on you. And the activated attachment system is all about this, the need to become closer. So let's talk about the antithesis, a complete antithesis of anxious person, and it is avoidant. So, imagine that your parents were distant, rigid, unresponsive, perhaps abusive, in the worst case. The whole atmosphere in your family was dismal. It was lacking coziness and love. This kind of a childhood would probably develop the avoidant personality. And the name itself states that this person is avoiding close relationships. The whole nature of avoidance is built upon independency. It's about being individualistic. It's not about being close. They actually view being close, being open, as something applicable to weak people. They view this as a sign of weak person. A person who accepts oneself, a person who shows empathy, emotions. No, that's not a type of person that avoidants are really attracted to. Avoidance actually might be described as a group of people in pop culture that nowadays is spreading, and that culture is about how to create relationships in a masculine, so to say, way. You know what they say? Be mysterious. Do not respond to her days, months, weeks. Be mysterious is the number one advice you will hear from those people. And most often from Sigmas. So, Well, it has some true, but taking these advices as a rule of thumb is not a good way to build relationships. To love someone, actually, you have to abandon this kind of ideology of being mysterious, unresponsive, being concerned with only yourself. Because, nowadays it's prevalent idea in the realm of love, dating, and this actually is a great strategy for, finding a partner. However, even in this aspect of finding a partner, it might show off some red flags about you to people who have the right knowledge about attachment styles. And people who have this knowledge will instantly identify you as an avoidant and probably back off from you. So, if you have previously had this idea that the more mysterious you are, the more distant you are, the better. Well, that's not completely the truth. So, try to reconsider some of your notions. So, avoidance, as we have understood, are self-concerned people. People who are driven with purpose. Well, that's not a bad thing, but when it comes to relationship, they might exaggerate the role of their purpose and basically exaggerate themselves. Their validation comes first, and after that comes the validation of their partner. And this is key drawback of an avoidant person. Also, they tend to view their partners only from negative sides. They might see only negative sides in their partner, like neediness, openness, and all of that. All in all, avoidants need distance. And now, when we see actually the relationships between avoidant and the anxious person, it's like an Leonardo da Vinci's painting. or basically just a conspicuous painting that you want to observe and just look at it for decades. There is a chaos of colors on that painting, different colors. And this chaotic nature of the colors on that painting is somewhat similar to the relationships of anxious person and avoidant. These two are actually very well attracted by each other. Well, they actually get into something called vicious cycle when they actually start to date or even get into marriage. Imagine two people. One is avoidant and the other is anxious. So avoidant starts to distance, to back off from the anxious person. Then anxious person gets attachment system of his or her activated. This activation leads to anxious feelings that this person might be cheating, this person does not like me anymore, this person wants to break up. And the urge to become closer to that person just blasts off on full. And you try to become closer to that person. And the person backs off, says, no, I need a distance. I need some space to breathe, you know? You might imagine a circle and imagine two dots. One dot follows the other. This is the relationship basically between the anxious person and avoidant. Anxious wants closeness. For this reason, anxious is chasing the avoidant, and the avoidant runs away, wanting to maintain the distance. And this vicious cycle is truly exhausting, debilitating for both sides. And in order to identify this vicious cycle, there are 4 key aspects for identification of whether you are in this cycle or not. So first key aspect of this vicious cycle is counterbalancing. Anxious is chasing, avoidant runs away. Anxious wants closeness, avoidant wants distance. Counterbalancing. The second key point is constant fighting. So, in this atmosphere, when one wants to be close and the other wants to be distant, many arguments are obviously the prevailing part of the relationships. arguments about whether you are cheating or not, whether you are perhaps not good enough. And these arguments could go on for decades unresolved if one of the partners does not use effective communication, which we'll discuss a bit later. So, this was the second key aspect of, rather key warning sign that you got into this vicious cycle. The third is emotional roller coaster. So, anxious is texting to avoidant person. Avoidant does not give any response. Attachment system is activated in anxious one. Emotions start to prevail. Worries, negative thoughts. He might be cheating. He's not concerned about me. What did I do wrong? What's wrong about me? Emotion starts to erode. And at some point, avoidant might come closer again to calm you down. But then again, there's a distance. And again, attachment system is activated. And again, there are anxious feelings. And this emotional roller coaster happens throughout your relationships. And the avoidant is also perturbed by the anxious need for closeness. When he wants to be just in peace. And suddenly, text message comes. Calls are incoming. And there is no peace anymore. And there is need to run away again. So, the last harbinger of a vicious cycle is becoming an inner circle enemy. The enemy in this case is the anxious. The inner circle is the inner circle of the avoidant person. As we have understood that avoidant people tend to view their partners only from negative sides, they thus criticize them a lot for being too needy, for being too emotional, for being too acting like a baby. And you might notice that they're not acting in the same way with other people. You are the one who is criticized. You are the only one who is condemned for something. You are the one who is hated, not actually loved in some way, or, you are insignificant. You do not mean anything to that person, you don't have a value. And this is one of the integral arrows that lead you to the vicious cycle. An interesting point of thought. Avoidants might look like the villains in this story, who do not have any feelings of empathy, who do not have any sense of love, of concern, of caring. Why do they even need to get into a relationship, you would ask? Well, studies show that when avoidants are distracted with some mental task, so basically what they were doing, they were showing off words on the screen to avoidant people, and how fast did they react to those words. They tracked how fast they react to those words. So words like closeness, intimacy created an instant reaction, which is natural because these are the key dangers, so to say, for avoidance. However, words like separation or breakup did not evoke the same reaction. But when they were distracted, when they were doing some other mental task, this is the point when they were showed words separation and breakup, they reacted as fast as with the words related to intimacy and closeness. So these people still have the same capability of loving and caring, and their attachment system could also be activated, as in the anxious people. So, about quarrels, about arguments. Many people might think that arguments are bad, utterly bad. They have nothing good to offer and are signs of bad relationships. Well, this is not completely true. Arguments have to be in relationship. After all, arguments mean that trust is built. Arguments lead to more trust, more comfort with each other when you resolve some problems, some issues that you are having in a relationship, to make both sides of the relationship comfortable with each other. The main question is, Are those quarrels and arguments resolved? And how are those quarrels and arguments resolved? So this notion that the best relationships have no quarrels is not really true. It is actually the opposite. There is lack of trust in a relationship. So, for resolving quarrels, there are secure and insecure tactics. A secure one is basically about effective communication and some other tactics, and the insecure ones are characterized by either avoidant or anxious style of dealing with arguments. So insecure tactics might be withdrawal during the argument, or no concern about your partner, no focus on the problem. So you might generalize the issue you are arguing about to your whole relationship. It might be simply about the food to order, either Chinese or fast food. If there's argument about food, you might use an insecure tactic and generalize that to relationship, to the state of relationship. Instead of saying that you had a bad taste of food, you say something like, the whole relationship with you is like it's like trash. Something like this. You don't focus on the problem at hand. Instead of discussing food, what kind of food to order, you discuss the person, your partner, and how they are in the relationship. So this inability to focus on the problem at hand is one of the insecure tactics one might implement. And of course, the concentration on the other person. Is the key. But if it is neglected, and also if there is a lack of engagement, like you veer off while the argument, you do not really care, you just sit like this. It does not really matter to you that will the quarrel be resolved or not. You just relax, or you do not really care about even resolving the issue. You just want to sit down, relax, watch some Netflix movies. The argument goes unresolved, and sometime later it comes up again. And it will go through this cycle throughout your whole life. These types of quarrels happen in all kinds of relationships, whether it's anxious avoidant, secure avoidant, secure anxious. Insecure tactics are implemented in anxious avoidant relationships, where two parts of the relationship are not capable of dealing with the situation in a secure way, having concern about the other person. So, before talking about the secure way of dealing with arguments and quarrels, let's speak about secure people themselves, who they are. These people are not concerned really about themselves, their career when it comes to relationship. They are purely focused on the relationship when it's about relationship. These people have genuine concern about the well-being of their partner. So, these people care more about whether their needs are met when they date with other people. They show themselves in the open way. They show themselves as an open book. And if the person does not enjoy reading this book, no problem. Find some other one. They genuinely feel responsible for other person's well-being. And one of the key aspects of secure person is that this person is basically like a coach. He or she is capable of having a partner who is insecure and bringing them to the level of security. So whether secure person dates with anxious or avoidant, soon, if the relationship lasts long, these people who are anxious and avoidant have a chance to become secure. Both anxious and avoidant had some deficiencies in their relationship with their parents. Secure person compensates these deficiencies, and they start to heal those wounds left from the childhood, and eventually become secure too. As they accept themselves as people perhaps who need distance, or people who are needy, people who are emotional, they also accept the other partner. They accept them as they are. If you are anxious, they accept your need for closeness. If you are avoidant, they accept your need for distance. And this acceptance is the key for pure love. It's the indicative of high quality of relationships. Fortunately, many people today are in the secure section. So the key point is to find them out of this throng. It might be difficult because some people got used to the feeling of being agitated, of being anxious, that does that person love me? Does that person need closeness? Oh, I want some distance. I want some emotions. If your relationships were, too emotional, there have been roller coaster, your body actually might be addicted to those feelings, those chemicals, which are emitted in your body when you were in the past relationships. And when you meet someone secure, you suddenly lose this agitated state, lose touch with it. And you might fallaciously interpret it as the wrong person. But if your soul, if your heart rate is down to earth, it's calm, it's tranquil, know that this is the right person. This is the secure person. Secure person makes you feel comfortable. Secure person makes you feel calm. And this is the true sign that you are in the evolving relationship, and this relationship eventually becomes high quality. Many people have this tendency of interpreting a loving relationship as being constantly emotional, constantly feeling this, a vibrant feeling of love inside of them. Having this mixture of emotions. It's not about that. It's about you being calm, being relaxed with that person. Being in a state when you can freely open up, talk about anything, even if it's something, foolish. But this foolishness could be understood only by you too. Love, acceptance is the key aspect of secure relationship. And even if you are not innately secure, you can adopt the secure role models around you. You might find secure people out of your environment, out of your friends, out of your family, and try to adopt some of their tactics, for instance, for dealing with arguments. It is actually one of the key practices for building a secure base to find someone with the secure attachment style and try to adopt their lifestyles, their mindset. And secure people have their tools, their own tools for building a high quality relationship. We talked about the characteristics of those people, and these characteristics also considered to be in the toolbox of these people. Then, when it comes to quarrels, when it comes to finding a resolution to the arguments, secure tactics are basically the opposite of the insecure ones. If the insecure people, rather insecure tactics, factor in things like withdrawal, lack of engagement, secure tactics, on the other hand, impose us the idea of engaging, being fully concentrated on the problem, not trying to generalize the problem, not, losing the focus of the problem and, shifting the problem from the subject of the argument to the relationship. Being concerned about the needs of the other person is another secure tactic of dealing with arguments. And of course, effective communication. So, what is it, effective communication? Basically, it's all about opening up, accepting yourself, and expressing your needs, your worries in the outward manner. I am currently anxious that you have some meetings with other people beside me. Darling, I need some distance. I feel too exhausted. I've been working very hard today, so I need some time for peace. It's not about you, it's about me. So, these lines are the lines of anxious and avoidant people who used effective communication. Both sides, both anxious and avoidant, in their relationships might show off obscure, needs. Rather, they show their needs in the obscure way, incomprehensible way, in the way that neither of the partners rather, understands each other. But when one of the partners starts to implement effective communication, when they start to actually say that this is the problem, I am worried, this becomes the turning point of the relationship. This tool, rather, becomes the turning point in the relationship of anxious and avoidant people, and moves as an exponential line, increasing exponential line. So the more frequently you implement it, the more secure your relationship becomes, the more happier you are, the more satisfied you feel about the relationships. If you are an anxious person, when you feel that your protest behavior perhaps is activated as a result of activated attachment system, when you feel the urge to show off your grudge, maybe stay silent for some time, make your partner jealous, stop for a second. Go straight to your partner and tell him or her that there is apprehension in you. You feel worried that this person does not love you very much. Or if you are avoidant, you might feel that you need some distance, you need some space to breathe. The key for the avoidant people when they use effective communication is to indicate that the problem is not with their partner. They do not distance themselves because they hate their partner. They do not love their partner. It's just about their nature that they love the distance, being alone. This is the key remedy for them to calm down, to, sober up. And when they effectively communicate it, showing that the problem is not in their partner, it's just their nature. They need some space to breathe. They need some time for silence and being in solitude. Then there'll be no quarrels. There'll be no misunderstanding. There'll be trust. The avoidant person will actually lean on to the secure side gradually and become more and more comfortable with being close. At the same time, maintain the distance. In case if you have implemented effective communication and your partner did not respond empathically, your partner did not understand you, this might be the key indicator that you are in the wrong relationships. Your partner does not accept you as you are. Your partner does not accept your nature, who you are. Fine. It's not a catastrophe. After all, there are millions of people out there, all around the world, waiting for people like you, who are open and care about relationships. So, if we describe the effective communication in 5 key aspects, it'll be something like this. So, the first key aspect of effective communication is about wearing your heart on your sleeves. So, basically, this means being earnest, honest, genuine, expressing your feelings, expressing your worries, expressing your concern openly in the outward manner so that there is no doubt, there is no misunderstanding about what's going on. The second key point is focusing and communicating your needs. Third point is being specific. So make your confession, so to say, as specific as possible. So there is no space left for, overthinking, or there is no space for additional thinking about what did you mean with what you said. The fourth key point is not blaming. So, when there is a quarrel, right? When there is an issue of either being too close or too distant, people might actually get blown up instantly by the accusations made by insecure partners. If an anxious person accuses you of being a bad partner, you might blow up and say something like, "Oh, really? I am a bad partner. Well, you are twice as bad partner as I am. You did this, you did that, you're doing this. I feel like this, I feel like shit, I feel like etc, 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 and forget about this." It's an immature, actually, way of reacting to problems. Control of yourself, being reticent is important for high quality relationships and for dealing with arguments. When you search resolution for the argument, you have to be sober. Emotions have to be under your control. So, first of all, use this as a rule of thumb. Don't blame. Try to find the problem in yourself. Perhaps you actually were paying little attention to your partner, or forgetting about yourself with becoming too close to them. And because of that, you now financially struggle. So, don't blame. Think about it twice. Try to take the responsibility onto yourself. Remember, the key characteristic of a secure person is being responsible for the well-being of the partner. Keep that in mind and look up for the secure role models. Ask them questions. What do you do in this situation? How do you act? Learn their tactics. Learn what tools they are using in these situations. And the fifth key aspect of effective communication is being assertive and non-apologetic. You state the problem as it is. You deliver your feelings as they are. You communicate your needs effectively this way. The happiness in the relationships are maintained when needs of both partners are met. If you have a need for closeness or if you have a need for distance, if they are met, if there is a balance, then there is no doubt there will be some issues in your relationship. And even if there will be some issues, there's a great tool called effective communication that you might use to find a resolution for the problem. Let's take an instance, actually. Imagine a situation when a woman was concerned how her husband was feeling at work. So she called him many times, messaged him many times. No answer, no response. Naturally, the attachment system becomes activated. And here starts the vicious cycle. It's the beginning. Apparently, her husband is an avoidant person. There are two ways this scenario, this example rather, might go. The way in which husband keeps staying distant and does not respond, or the way in which he implements some of the secure tactics, tries to understand what is happening, what her spouse is concerned about, genuinely being absorbed with well-being of her spouse, and finding resolution for this problem. So next time she calls, he might still hang on. he might still give no response instantly. After he communicated his needs effectively, when he told that the problem was that he is currently consumed with a myriad, a legion of work, so for this reason he might not be answering to her messages or calls. After that has been said, spouse, the woman, will understand what's going on. And later on, when her husband is actually free, has a free time to do something he wants to do, he calls her back or messages her. And they have a lovely conversation about anything, basically. But the main task of the husband has been fulfilled. And the anxious person was pacified and satisfied at the end. Also, the avoidant person was satisfied with some distance. Both sides, all in all, are satisfied because they try to find resolution for their problem. Both try to brainstorm how can they evolve their relationship, how can they advance their relationship, how can they deal with this problem. And this is the beauty of effective communication. Remember that true love comes from being absorbed and concerned with the other person when you forget about yourself. This is the moment when you get the authentic, the real love. Another key point I want to mention is when the effective communication is not used and still the relationships are stable. So there is actually two ways to go with resolving the quarrels. The first is the secure way, and the second is the acceptance and finding a peace, so to say, way. The method of finding a peace is all about forgetting about your needs, forgetting that your needs have to be fulfilled in order for you to be happy, and instead being concerned that the other partner's needs are met. So if you are anxious, you might be concerned about tranquility of your idea, of your of your soul, that your partner does still love and care about you, and finding the peace method is all about suppressing that. You suppress that and forget about basic happiness. The basic way, actually, that you might achieve happiness, and instead you fulfill the avoidant partner's need for distance. So, in this kind of a relationship, not all of the needs are met. Not all of the needs are met, so there could not be pure satisfaction in the relationship like this. Still, there could be a peace if you do not discuss this problem that might actually create some problems, or just avoid doing something that will disturb the other partner, but actually might lead to your happiness eventually. It's not going to make your relationship intimate and satisfying. So that's why it's partially a good way of dealing with issues in your relationships. Also, there could be an issue of breaking up with people. Because when we become attached to the other person, we feel constant need for being together, even thought the relationships might not be the best one. Even when we understand that the relationships are not going anywhere, but into the deep shithole. When you are genuinely disrespected, when you are in a state of being constantly worried, of feeling discomfort, of feeling unhappy, even in these cases, when it's obvious that you have to leave, it's hard to leave. Perhaps you might have had some thoughts in the past when you were in your current relationships, or you were in some past relationships, that it will be better if you will leave the relationships. If you will leave that person, things are going to be better for that person and for yourself. But it's hard. It's like breaking your leg, actually. I'm not joking. So some scientific studies have been done, and results show that the feeling of separation is just like feeling of breaking your leg. It's like a physical pain. Just imagine. And that's why it's hard to break up. And that's basically akin to breaking your leg on purpose. And of course, common sense does not let us to do that, to experience this enormous pain. What should we do in this situation? How one has to act and break up actually without feeling this long-term guilt, shame, or dissatisfaction, grudge. Well, first of all, there has to be some backup. What do I mean by that? There have to be friends, family, people who can support you during that time when you basically have gone through the process of breakup. When you are alone, things might get more difficult because negative thoughts basically consume you. You get engrossed into negative thinking that you won't find another partner, that you will be left alone, that you'll be unhappy for the rest of your life. Close people, people whom you actually love and respect, and who reciprocate these attitudes, they too respect and love you. These people will get you out of this trench of negative thinking, support you during that time until you find the one whom you actually love and care about. By using effective communication next time to identify whether the partner is the right one or the wrong one. The one who understands your needs or the one who cares only about oneself. And this way you won't get into another unfortunate relationship. So, the second thing you might do after finding some people who can support you after the breakup is to develop deactivation. Deactivation. So, activation is the tool of an anxious person, as we remember from the beginning. Activated attachment system. Deactivation, on the other hand, is the tool of avoidant people. They deactivate their attachment system. When they feel an urge for closeness, they deactivate their system and tell themselves that internally that this is not the right way. I should follow my purpose. I should pursue my career. But in our case, we should tell ourselves that this is not the right person. Remember what he or she did last time, what kind of an argument you had. So there is an interesting phenomenon that when we are actually about breaking up with someone, suddenly some nostalgic feeling occurs. When we start to recollect the moments when we actually were happy with the current partner with whom we want to break up. This is a deception. This is a deceptive nature of basically our mind that tries to calm us down and keep us in this vicious cycle, in this bad relationship for longer and longer. But you might actually do some journaling practice to remind yourself that this person is not the right choice for you. And here are the reasons. I am in the inner circle and I am considered as enemy. Remember, vicious cycle aspect. I am the enemy in the inner circle. I am criticized. I am, I am bullied. I am hated. I feel lack of love. I feel discomfort with that person. She did this. She criticized my neediness. He barked at me. And so on and so forth. You remind yourself that. And if you are anxious, you will develop this somewhat a negative tool used by avoidant people. But its positive side is seen when this deactivation is controlled. So you are basically in the control of deactivation because it was not developed in you. It's not your natural tool. And as you develop it, you feel less attached to that person. And as you feel less attached, it's easier for you to break up. Finally, go to that person and tell him or her that you don't want this anymore. You want yourself to be happy and for them too to have little stress with dealing with you, with arguing with you, and for them too to be happy. You split up, and in case if there are some negative feelings occurring, negative thoughts that you won't find anyone else, that you won't find the right partner for yourself, here is the backup. Here are the people, your friends, your family, who are here to support you. if someone stays longer in this kind of relationship, even secure people might actually become insecure. It's one of the drawbacks, actually, of secure people, that they might get too concerned, too consumed with being responsible about well-being of the other person, of their partner, that they forget about well-being of themselves. But this analysis, this acceptance that, yeah, the relationship is in a shitty situation, so I gotta do something about it or nobody will. And you stop the relationship. You keys it. And the next time you search for the partner, you search for the person who accepts you, not the person who looks suitable for you, but the person who accepts your needs, your concerns. This way makes you happy, fulfilled. And you too try to fulfill their needs, of course. If needs are met from both sides, you get the high quality relationship. This is it, probably. Truly amazing study of the attachment styles and the theory of attachment, and truly valuable for people who are about to get into some serious relationships, who are dating, who are even currently in their relationships. For everyone, basically. So, always keep in mind that showing true empathy, concern about the other, not only considering your needs, but accepting the other person, feeling comfortable with the other person, being at peace with the other person, is the key indicator that relationships are in the best state as it could be. Thank you for your attention. And I wish you have a great day. Good night. Wish you get into secure relationships which are satisfying, happy, and full of joy. Hope you have learned something you craved to learn from this video. And I'll see you in the next video.